Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Wondrous Creatures, which is brought to you by Bad Comet. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games generally run about 40 to 80 minutes. A mysterious island has been discovered. It all started when a trade ship was lost at sea and in distress. Within the vast haze of the ocean fog, the ship encountered an unusual looking creature. It seemed like a bird at first, and its unusual and mysterious look was followed by a bright beak that brightened up the endless darkness. The trade ship decided to follow this beacon to what seemed like its destination, a mysterious island, never before discovered amidst the cloak the sea fog had created. This particular island was full of mysterious animals, from tiny, cute balls of fur to reptiles with massive, frightening fangs. All this news and discovery made you, an animal enthusiast, board the first ship sailing to this mystifying island. Welcome to a world full of fantastic creatures. You are an admirer, a creature enthusiast, who will join the journey of forming the world's leading creature reserve. And in the end, you hope to be the player with the highest score. Setup on this one is very dependent on player count. There's 2 sides of the board. Here we're set up for a 4-player game. In the middle of the board is the main island where you're going to be visiting, picking up resources, getting cards, wondrous creatures, and adding them to your stable, so to say. So the middle is the island, then below you'll see some achievements you can gain. At the top is the wilderness where you'll be gathering these cards, these creatures, in order to help you through the course of the game to get more points. Now, points are the big thing you're after here, and there's 2 different types. You'll see a red seal, and this is for scoring it in game. A brown seal is for scoring during the game. Then for player setup, you have your own player board, obviously, which is recessed. I like recessed boards. You have areas for tracking your different resources that you're gathering around the island. You also have eggs that you'll be picking up across the island, and you'll be storing them here in sequential order. Also, you have a crew chief, along with a set of crew, which all just means that these are your workers that you're going to be putting out into the island. Each of the crew chiefs will have a card that you put into your player board with some upgrade options, some sliders. I love when player boards have some tactile experience around them. Really well done here. But until you upgrade, you don't get those special abilities. All some asymmetric abilities, but they generally upgrade in the same way. Also, you have some tokens that are your achievement tokens that you'll be putting out to gather trophies. Again, all about in-game scoring. So those are the basics around what you have for your player boards, but you also have some nets that you can capture some of these eggs when you're adjacent to them. Now, I also want to call attention to these meeples in general. For your crew, your workers, you have different varied animals that you'll be using, and your main crew chief is a meeple in itself as well. And they're also magnetized, so your crew chief can ride one of the workers into the island and use them. And the reason for that is because once you use that particular worker and you've upgraded the abilities, then you can use those as you maneuver around the island. So gameplay here is super straightforward. All the things you might expect, you need to get resources, you need to get creatures, and then have enough resources to put these into play to create this synergy between your cards and the eggs that you've collected throughout the course of the game in order to gain points and get achievements and things like that. So on your turn, you get to perform one of 4 basic actions. The first and probably the biggest action available to you is placing your crew out into the island. So you can gain resources, you can gain cards, you can pick up eggs, things like that. But the big thing here is that you have different types of terrain and different types of habitat. Now, you will not be placing inside of the habitats your workers, just around them. You're trying to gather as many of those things based on your positioning on the board. So you have the plains, which is where you'll be starting with your workers. And then there's also mountains, lakes, and islands that you potentially can place in as well when you've done some upgrades. But you're trying to position yourself next to these different habitats. And the different habitats are the fruits, you've got coral, you've got flower and mushrooms. All of those relate to the different types of resources you want to pick up, as well as the different cards. In the right corner, top right corner of the card will show that same symbol. So when you're next to the different habitats, you can choose. I'm going to gather 1 fruit, I'm going to pick up a fruit card, and get 1 flower resource. So all kinds of different things, how you can mix and match those based on where you've placed your workers. Now, if you placed a worker on top of an egg in the plains, let's say, you'll pick the egg up and you'll put it in the first available slot on your player board. And you'll see that all these egg slots will have some bonuses once you cover them up. And we'll talk a little bit more about what eggs do for you, but obviously those symbols are going to be key to doing things like getting achievements and helping you with the synergy you create with the cards that you put into play. You start to build this engine for sure. So worker placement and habitats are key in order to get resources and pick up cards. Now your next option available to you is to play up to 2 creature cards from your hand, but you have to be able to pay the cost. So a closer look at these cards, there are several different types, and there are 7 different types of species. So in the top right corner again is the habitat that it came from, but in the left corner is going to show you the species, and it could be multiple, part of multiples. And the thing here is that you're trying to create some synergy again with the cards in play and what you're going to be able to gain points with other cards putting into play, as well as the different achievements and eggs. All those things really kind of play in together. So we'll take a look at one of these cards, but there are several different types, and you'll see that the cost of the card is in the left side as well. This one is going to cost you 2 flower and 1 mushroom in order to put into play. Now this one is a continuous, ongoing effect through the course of the game, and you'll see down below that every time you use a net, you'll be able to draw a card, which is really quite nice. So this is definitely a card you'd want to have in play, roaming throughout the course of the game. And also in the right corner over here, at the bottom, or the middle I should say, is what the card is going to be worth in victory points at the end of the game. So there are several different types of cards though. This is a continuous card. There are instant action cards. There's also recharge cards, there's energy cards, and finally end of game scoring cards. And putting the right combination cards into play is going to be key to build up your engine and get the maximum points throughout the course of the game and at the very end. Next action available to you is to achieve an achievement, and you have all your achievement markers on your board, and once you use one of those you get the bonus that's next to it, like getting more cards or getting points or getting a net. We'll talk about nets in a minute, it's one of the free actions. But you'll pick up one of these markers, getting that bonus and placing it on one of the achievements that you fulfilled. So all kinds of different things here because it's random in every game, but as an example, if I'm the first one to lay down or have 6 dragons in play, I can put my marker there and get 8 points at the end of the game. So several different things to score here based on species and cards in play, all kinds of different things. I really like this aspect because it makes you plan and build up your tableau in order to get the right achievements at the right time. And just a couple other notes around achievements. When you fulfill one, you're going to pick up a trophy, and when you run out of trophies, this will signal the end of the game. But you can also use your eggs, your unhatched eggs, to fulfill these different achievements. So in the case of the dragon again, if I had 2 or 3 eggs with their dragons, I could hatch them, flip them over to count towards the total that I need, and then also use my cards to combine and make that goal of the 6 dragons for that card. So lots of different ways to combine what you're doing with the cards and the eggs as you try to fulfill and get the most points. The last basic action that is available to you is recharge. Now you can only do this if all 3 of your workers are out in the island. So first thing you're doing is pulling your workers back, and then you're going to be able to refresh either the 3 cards on the left or the 3 cards on the right out on the main board. And then you're going to be moving your timepiece along the time track. If you're the first one to do so, you'll pick up the token showing a symbol, pulling eggs from the bag and placing them in the corresponding spots on the main island. And if there happens to be another token underneath it, which is potentially a habitat, you'll get to place that out in the island as well. And again, this is another way for the game to come to an end, moving along this track. So it definitely will move things along, so to say. So you'll have to put together your tableau and work wisely in order to do this. So those are the key things, the key actions that you're going to be doing. But there's some free actions as well, like the net. We've talked about it a couple times. If you're adjacent to an egg, you can spend a net to pick up an egg that you're adjacent to and put it on your player board. Or you might choose to use the net in a different way by activating one of the special symbols on one of the habitats. And there's all kinds of different things here, but one of the big things is collecting more resources. You also have the option of upgrading your character. So you have those 2 character slots that you can upgrade. If you've placed an achievement, you can upgrade that. If you have 2 cards in reserve, you can upgrade that, and you'll get those special abilities. Again, using your particular crew that has your character meeple on it. So that's another option to you. Or you can activate one of your energy cards by spending the energy that's on the card to activate and do whatever it says. So those are the basics of what you're doing in this game. Again, you're trying to put together the best reserve, the best monsters in order to get the best achievements and get the most points really at the end of the game. Gathering points through the game and getting those in-game scores. So many different ways to score and so many different directions to go. A lot of neat choices in this one. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this game just straight up is simply beautiful. Some really interesting choices as you play through how you best put together that tableau. I love the artwork and the different types of creatures and all the different things that they do can aid you in how you put together that tableau and have some ongoing effects or instant actions, some really neat things around placing those cards and getting those achievements. It is a race. It feels like you're racing to get those points, those high level points through the course of the game, and then tally everything at the end, obviously. But I like how the workers work, placing them on the board, and how you have so many choices around what you're doing, what cards you're gathering, what resources you're gathering. Some really fun things here. But folks, ultimately, if it looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.